Hello, and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with...
Justin Dracula DeClue!
It's not, Thanksgiving. It's not Halloween.
It could be because...
I did not It is definitely not Halloween.
Yeah, no, we're starting Halloween early.
Wait, why are you a Dracula?
I got bit by a
it's
vampire.
a vampire movie? Yeah. Oh my god, I'm so dumb right now.
Oh my god. Well, we'll explain in a second once Colin introduces himself what's going on.
Okay, so we're doing Sicilian Vampire.
I'm Colin Kenny.
I'm Colin Cunningham.
If this is your first episode of the podcast, turn it off now.
Oh my god.
Okay, so full disclosure, Colin and I are very hungover. We had too much fun at TIFF last night.
What party did you go to? Who was hosting it?
It wasn't a party.
We just went out with Adam from Your Movie Sucks.
Because he's in town for TIFF. But we went to a rock show, and it was a 90s and early 2000s cover band, which is very on brand for me. So it was doing some headbanging, even some moshing, and especially when the Limp Bizkit came out. So I had a great time.
This is the latest I've stayed up.
Yeah, we were up until 1:30, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually like in bed by like
9:30. And me too. So
I'm tired too, because I've been up till 4 a.m. every night because I go to Midnight Madness. But to save Colin and April, I injected myself with super drugs, and I'll be the more energy for both of them.
You never need that stuff anyway. You're always energetic.
You're at TIFF actually seeing the movies.
Yes.
And we're just going to the parties.
That's
apparently.
the only thing I couldn't. I wanted to see that Barbarian screener the other night. I think was it last night?
That was not officially a TIFF movie. That was one that our pal Peter just put on.
Oh, okay. So
it's in theaters now. If anybody wants to check it out, Barbarian.
Yeah, I want to check it out. I don't want to know anything about it, but the only thing was the doors opened at 9:30, and the movie didn't start till midnight. So
it's like an event.
I can't just sit in the theater for like 2.5 hours.
And
before a movie starts.
You would have had to get there before 11 too, because we were like, we'll get there like 11:30, right, Peter? He's like, no, you have to get there before 11 because no RSVPs are not acknowledged after that. So we're like, okay.
I think it was coming out the next day, so I figured we'd just see it in theaters, and we could just see it at a reasonable time.
Anyway, speaking of things in Toronto, we're returning to a Toronto auteur filmmaker, Frank D'Angelo, and he was previously featured on, I forgot to grab the episode number, an early episode of ours where we did Maximum Overdrive and No Deposit. Mm-hmm. And that movie was hilarious, No Deposit. And I've been wanting to watch Sicilian Vampire for a long time, but I feel like I was warned that it was boring. And
it's very long.
She did not heed that warning. And here we are.
Yeah. So he's a vanity filmmaker.
2 hours, 4 minutes.
Yeah. And all his movies are about him, and he hires washed up celebrities. I don't know about celebrity. Washed up actors.
What, you don't think Robert Davi or Amrin Desante is a celebrity?
James Caan.
Hey, Robert Davi just directed a movie
My
called
Son Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hunter Biden movie.
I can't believe that. Mm-hmm. Is he just like, he's a crazy nut though on online, isn't he? Isn't he like a Frank Stallone type?
Yes, very much a Frank Stallone type. Yeah.
I always like picture him like filming himself like ranting about stuff and posting it on Instagram or Twitter or whatever.
What people need to understand is Frank Stallone, sorry, not Frank Stallone. I wish it was Frank Stallone. Frank D'Angelo, Canada's Frank Stallone, if you will.
Yeah.
He is the ultimate vanity filmmaker in that, he is like just a business entrepreneur. I don't know if he has it anymore. He had his own weekly talk show where it was basically an excuse to just talk up the stuff that he does.
Being Frank.
Yes, being Frank.
Oh my God.
And he would do it live from the restaurant that he owns, which used to be on King Street. Is it still there?
It was right across from TIFF. No, it closed down. It was the Forget About It Supper Club.
Rest in peace.
Yep. That's been gone for a while now.
It was whacked.
And he used to make a lot of movies, and he stopped suddenly, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with the billionaire who was funding him, Barry Sherman, being brutally murdered in his home alongside his wife. Nothing at all.
This is famous murder case. There was an interview with Frank I keep wanting to say Stallone, but it's Frank D'Angelo, where they're interviewing him saying, like, you know, he was kind of implicated in the murder, but he's like, why would I do that? They were bankrolling all of my movies.
It's true, but that's the perfect
it's
out.
Yeah.
What is this, Basic Instinct?
The interview is really funny because the guy is like describing, they go to a restaurant and, you know, Frank is like being Frank and ordering wine and stuff. But yeah, Barry and his wife, he was like a billionaire pharmaceutical guy, famously flubbed case by the Toronto Police Department.
Yep.
They declared it a murder-suicide.
They did, but they were posed together.
They were posed, hung, and like their hands were tied behind their back. They said it was like a murder-suicide.
The whole thing stinks.
It was botched from the get-go, and like they I don't know, knock down the house or something before they could.
That is banana. That stinks of corruption.
To this day, like the family had to hire like a private detective, and like the Toronto police like announced, I don't know, it was like 6 months ago or something. It's like, we've had a big break in the case, and then they like released this surveillance footage of this shadowy figure like walking down the sidewalk.
Oh no, like, was he humming "Just a Gigolo"? Everywhere I go.
Gigolo, yeah.
But that was their big break, and they're like, does anybody know this man?
Can't even see him.
They said, he's kind of walking with a limp. Does anybody recognize this limp?
Now, oh God, that seems so made up. So Frank D'Angelo also was someone who had like a energy drink company, Cheetah Power Surge.
That's right.
Which I don't think exists anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe it does. I don't know.
And I think the spokesman was Ben Johnson. He was a famously disgraced Canadian Olympic runner.
And what he would say in the commercials was, "I cheetah all the time."
Oh my God.
Yes. He was caught
cheating.
Doping.
Yep. So that's a joke. Oh, it's a joke.
It's a joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so Frank is still very active on Instagram.
Is he?
And he's always plugging his website, but he has multiple websites. It's like there's like a frankdangelo.com.
on his website, and you can still buy his films on Blu-ray. Very tempted.
Okay.
And I was wondering if it was defunct. So I was like, do I want to throw my money in the void for this, or, you know, will he actually send them to me? Now, I know friends who do have like a copy of No Deposit on Blu-ray, which of course comes with a soundtrack CD of Frank D'Angelo singing all the hits.
So he's also a singer. He really wants you to know that.
There is nothing that Frank can't do.
So what's great about the movies, and I'm going to say this right now, my favorite thing, is that Frank D'Angelo movies live in a world where Frank is omnipresent. You cannot turn on a radio without a Frank D'Angelo song coming on. Anywhere you walk into, Frank D'Angelo music is playing on the soundtrack. It's so good.
Yeah, at one point they're in like a strip club, and
Frank D'Angelo music is playing.
I was like,
but it's like this. It sounds like "Baby, Don't Hurt Me No More."
Yeah, he
but
does
it's
covers.
Like, it's him doing it, and I'm like, oh my God Almighty. Where do we start? This cast is insane, by the way.
Daryl Hannah.
Poor Daryl Hannah.
That's the one that you go to. We got James Caan.
Got
Armand Assante, Paul Sorvino, Robert
Michael
Davi,
Paré,
Eric Roberts,
Canada's own Art Hindle of Black Christmas fame.
We got Robert Loggia.
He's barely in
the voice of Robert Loggia.
Yeah. And the face briefly.
Daniel Baldwin.
Yes.
Daryl, famously Italian Daryl Hannah.
Yeah, in a bad
Pretty
wig.
much it.
That's a lot of celebrities.
Yeah. And this movie apparently cost $11 million.
That is not true.
No,
what?
If it did, that all went to the actors.
So the way that Frank shoots these movies, he does it very quickly. He gets one take and he shoots from multiple cameras.
Right.
I wonder if you could guess in this kind of like John Cassavetes-esque film where
oh my God.
they seem to have used every second of footage that they shot.
Yes. Scenes go on, and they like repeat themselves within the scene, basically. You know what I mean?
Almost as if they have no script at all, and they're improv.
I feel like there was a loose script.
This movie seems like it forgets it's supposed to be a vampire film.
Oh, yes. Big time. Big time. It's barely vampire at all. It's all mafia.
I would say it just kind of forgets that it's a movie at times, or it's
we're just hanging out with the guys.
This is the ultimate hangout film where it's basically Frank D'Angelo. I think he just hired he's kind of like a wannabe kind of mafioso.
How dare you call him a wannabe mafioso?
No, he's not a wannabe.
So insulted.
I mean, he is a wannabe, but in this movie, he's
I think
he just mafioso.
He just
he's
hires
just a gigolo.
Yeah, he hires these famous Italian actors that he admires, and he just films himself hanging out with them all the time. Basically,
yeah.
This is it's fulfilling his dream.
So this
Armand
film,
Assante, just saying he's not Italian.
Armand Assante, star of the classic spoof film. I think it's called.
Yeah, we watched that. What is that called? It's called
Fatal Instinct.
Yeah, that's right.
Fatal Instinct. Yeah, which was pretty funny if I recall.
He's very funny in that movie.
Yeah.
Directed by Carl Reiner.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, no shit.
So this movie starts with, of course, stock footage of cities.
It's supposed to be New York.
Don't let this stock footage of New York fool you. This is
what's on that soundtrack? It's Frank singing "Just a Gigolo."
Oh, God. I hope you like this song because.
And then he wakes up in bed with Daryl Hannah, who seems a little bit inebriated in this film.
She's a little groggy.
Yeah,
it could be her character.
Wearing a hilariously bad wig.
Yeah.
And Frank wakes up and he's like, I'm going to the cabin, like the same way I've been the last 18 years.
And he acts like he absolutely hates doing this.
Yeah.
Like he can't stand these guys. So it's like, then why are you going, Frank?
And at one point she goes, hey, be careful. You always come back feeling like crap. And he's like, you got to feel like crap to feel good. I don't know about that, Frank, but if you say so.
And she's like, I made you a bunch of Italian food, a brujol. It's like huge trays of food. He's like, when did you make that? She goes, last night. And it's like a day's worth of cooking.
Yeah, it's like catering tins, like gigantic. I made you some lasagna, spaghetti.
Food.
Now, I was paying very much attention to the beginning of this film because, like most Frank pictures, everything set up pays off, right, guys? I was like, why are we watching him having so much difficulty pee in the morning?
Yeah, this scene goes on for so long.
That doesn't come back, right?
Yeah, no, it never comes back.
I was
expecting
him.
Just catch like raw footage of Frank trying to pee in the morning?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, he can't pee, so he turns on one of the sinks. He goes back to pee. This is all one take, by the way. Still can't pee. Then he goes on to turns on the other sink, and then finally he can pee. This goes on for minutes. Does he have a
urinary tract infection? Like, what's going on?
I thought they were establishing that he had, like, prostate issues, and then when he becomes a vampire, they're healed.
I wanted a scene where he's just, like, whizzing freely, like, yeah.
No, it's like
just like a fire hose.
They meant to set that up, but they forgot.
It's like Scary Movie when the guy ejaculates. He's like...
Yeah, so I don't know what. So the whole scene with him and Daryl Hannah, they're clearly just improvising. Like, it just goes on and on. Every scene in this movie just goes on way, way too long.
Yeah, past the point of the scene.
And you're just like, why are we hanging on this scene? I don't understand. So yeah.
But of course, it's like Bob and the Rake in The Simpsons. We just love it, right? Because it goes on so over and over.
While this is happening, his friends are in the car singing.
Singing to a Frank song.
I ain't got nobody. Just a gigolo again.
Yeah, so we're introduced to Michael Pare.
The last time Just a Gigolo's gonna play in this movie.
They are loving Frank's version of this song. They're singing.
Just a Gigolo is like, the climax of this film. Anyway.
It intercuts. So this scene goes on for 10 minutes. They are singing to this goddamn song for 10 minutes.
Don't forget, we also cut to a strip club where Paul Sorvino and Daniel Baldwin are hanging out, and Frank's music playing on the soundtrack as well.
Yeah,
of course it is.
Constantly. I don't think there's a second of this movie where his music isn't playing. And we'll get to the credits at the end. But, oh my God. But the funny thing is, so he's going out, they're come to pick him up, and they go on this, like, I guess, boys retreat that they've been doing for years.
At the cabin, but all they do is play poker.
Yeah, so, but as he's leaving...
they do more than that, April. They tell jokes.
Oh, man. Right. Well, this is funny. He's leaving the house to go outside, and his dad, or his daughter comes up, and she says, Daddy, I need to tell you something. And he says, I'll be back in 2 days. Go back to bed. I'm dying, Taddy. I'll be back in 2 days, baby.
They just tell you now? No.
And then Daryl Hannah leaves some clothes out for him. He's wearing his shirt. It's like a leather.
It's a leather
shirt.
like button.
It's like a black leather shirt.
Colin, this is high class kind of stuff. I mean, it's expensive.
I mean, what
Frank
do I
knows
know?
fashion.
I guess it matches his. That'd
be amazing if you like open like Frank fashion outlets. It's like Frank knows fashion. Fashions are us.
Yeah, he probably has something like that in the works.
Frank has kind of faded away, unfortunately, as a businessman since the death of Barry Sherman.
His Instagram is kind of sad. It's just like, oh.
Someone's at our door.
Somebody at the door.
It's Frank.
Frank,
no, he's heard her.
He knows it. He knows.
Oh, I'm gonna
it's
get
probably
whacked.
nobody.
He can hear anything, even a mouse fart. All right, that's a joke for people who have seen Sicilian Vampire, but we'll get to it.
So yeah, he comes out. He's giving them shit for playing the music too loud because it's like supposed to be.
I'm surprised he wasn't like, play it louder. Let's rock on.
He's like giving them shit for everything. He's like, why did you bring so much food? Hey, Frank, you're the one with like 3 trays of food.
And again, this scene goes on for so long, and he's got a gun, and he's like waving it around.
Yeah. Because he's cool.
He's kind of an asshole in this movie.
He's a huge asshole.
He's just
it's weird because usually people are like, Frank, you're the best man that ever lived. We love you. And in this one, not so much.
He's just like yelling at everybody. He's always pissed off.
He played this whole movie like he's just annoyed.
Yeah.
Like pre-vampire and especially post-vampire.
But for some reason, it's intercut. Yeah, we get Paul Sorvino at a strip club for some
Yeah,
reason.
I mean, I'll just say it right now. I think my favorite thing about this movie is the strip club set because it's so crappy. It is like the basement of a clubhouse that you would rent.
It's like a Legion Hall.
Yeah,
or
Legion
something.
Hall, and they've just put like shitty like sparkly paper like streamers basically on the wall, but they have the money to hire like beautiful women, so could they not get a better and it's so like dark and they're sitting on like plastic chairs with like vinyl tablecloths and Paul Sorvino's eating this Italian food.
Paul Sorvino's in a bathrobe for some reason.
Yeah, at this part, yes.
It's comfort, Colin. That's why he's wearing a bathrobe. So we cut back to the cabin, which just looks like Frank's living room. So it's very confusing.
I was very confused. I thought they were like waiting for someone, to show up so they're gonna like murder him or something. They just like sit at this table
and play poker
and drink wine. It's like broad daylight. It's really strange.
What's really funny is that, I mean, this happened to all of us, right, guys? They all fall asleep sitting up at the poker table.
They playing for so long that they fall asleep. So they're playing
Frank
for like
with
10
his
hours.
arms crossed.
Yeah, it goes from like broad daylight to broad daylight.
And then, as happens at party, someone shows up with a box of bananas. And they take the lid off the box of the bananas, and then a rubber bat just attacks Frank.
And this is how he becomes a vampire.
I was laughing
His
so hard.
reaction is like, shoot it! Shoot it!
They all pull their guns out.
And there's a little CGI blood spurt, isn't there?
I was laughing so hard because I had no idea how he was going to become a vampire, and I never would have guessed that this is how he becomes a vampire.
A bat in a box of bananas, people.
Bananas.
And it's not like placed or anything. Like it never comes up again.
No.
You don't even. But it's just, he pulls the top off the box.
Yeah.
And it's just this piece of fur like lying there.
He's like, ah!
What? You got a dead? It's like a dead rat or something.
Yeah. So then they have to take him to the hospital, which looks like a vet clinic. It looks like really
Looks
shitty.
like a vet clinic.
Yeah.
And then
And
they
the doctor's like,
"Wait a
it's just a scratch. It's just a scratch. What are you worried about?
I guess it's like implied that he's already healed at this point or something.
Yeah, apparently. So, boys' weekend over. Vampire bite.
Oh, Daryl Hannah is not happy that he's been bitten by a vampire bat.
No.
She's like screeching and like seemingly throwing pots and pans.
Yeah. It's like, dude, he just got bit
He's like,
by
calm
an
down,
animal.
calm
It's
down.
not a huge deal. And then he becomes a vampire.
He looks in the mirror and there's no reflection.
Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't even remember that.
It's very unclear. Like the idea is he looks in the mirror and then he goes and gets his wife to check if her reflection is there.
Yeah, he
And
tells
then
her, he's like, oh, you got something on your face. Go look in the mirror. And then
I didn't get that at all.
yeah, I have a feeling that was a set because the bathroom looks very bad. You know,
we skipped over as well that when he's at the hospital, he starts to hallucinate stock footage of like animals being eaten.
Yeah, there's like hyenas, and they're going.
Yeah, great, right? Great visual storytelling.
I think he even like threatens the doctor. Remember, to like get ahead of all the
he
people.
He chokes the doctor. Briefly. And he's like, sorry about that, sir.
And then
at this point, his daughter wants to go out to a club. She says, "Oh."
And Frank's like, no, you can't go out to a club.
And he's like winking at her, you know, listen to your mother, you can't go. So she goes out to a club. She's getting.
Are they dancing to Frank's music? I mean, they must
100%.
Right?
They must be.
Do you think he's going to allow any other music but his own to be in this movie?
It's so funny because it must be Frank's music because it goes on forever that we see his daughter dancing at this club. Intercut with Frank sitting in a chair being like,
and
then a guy puts his hand on his daughter's butt and Frank's like, ah! And he grows. The first thing you see is he grows vampire nails. Like, they get a little bit long.
A little CGI, a little like morphing action going on.
Then he gets red eyes and like the dumbest fangs you've ever seen in a vampire movie.
Which I don't think you ever see again.
You see it, I think, one more time. Later.
Maybe? I don't know.
I believe you
He's
do.
like, it's the kind of fangs that like if you talk, you'd be like, hello.
Yeah, they kind of come up. But I think it's like implying that he's got like psychic
Sensing
abilities or something.
Powers.
He's sensing that his daughter is being harassed at this club.
No, it's because he can hear anything, even a mouse fart. He tells his daughter that when he busts in and busts a few heads.
Yeah, he shows up.
Seemingly random guys at the party that she's at.
Yeah, very awkwardly throwing these guys around and giving them like, you know, elbow drops or something like that.
And then it cuts to Frank. He brings his daughter back home. She's safe and sound. And then he's laying in bed, and it cuts to a mouse, and you hear just to underline the fact that he can hear a mouth fart.
Yeah, so it actually farts.
Someone had explained this to me, and in my mind, I'd built it up. I thought it was going to, like, zoom in, and you see the mouth, and I was hoping the mouth would be, like, shitty CGI. Maybe you see a little CGI fart come out. None of that happened.
What
it's
do you
just
want, like a big
effect.
green cloud of smoke coming out of its eyes?
Exactly.
This is like one of the few jokes in the movie.
Yeah.
Other than the jokes that they tell, which are terrible. We didn't mention it, but during the poker scene, all four of them have to tell a long-winded joke.
Oh my God.
Why? I don't know, but none of them are funny. Half of them don't even make sense.
Like, I kept waiting for the punchlines that never came.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like they tell a joke one by one. They go around the table. Michael Pare tells a joke, and then he tells it again later in the movie.
In another scene.
In another joke-telling scene. Oh my God.
I think they're tedious.
I think they're just trying to pad out the runtime, but it's 2
Why?
2 hours. 2 hours.
124 minutes. It feels like a reaction to No Deposit being so short.
Mercifully short.
Maybe.
But nothing happens in this movie.
Yeah.
There's like, I was taking notes and like, they just keep going back to like the same location.
Yeah, like so
telling jokes.
We're cutting back to the strip club where Paul Sorvino, you know, wants to whack Robert Davi, I guess. And then we cut to Robert Davi and his crew having brunch, and that happens like it feels like it happens for like half an hour.
Well, first Frank goes to church, and he can't go to church because he smokes up once he steps out.
He can't step on the ground.
We have a very long driving scene in the car. He's driving his wife and daughter to church.
Listening to some Frank music, of
Frank
course.
music. And then he like sets foot. He steps out of the car and his shoe starts to smoke or something. And he's like, I'll meet you later. Go to church.
He goes to the
What's
cemetery.
really funny is you see Daryl Hannah and the actor playing his daughter go up to the doors. They can't open them, so they start going down the stairs.
She even said, she's like, oh, we got to go around the side entrance. I guess they lock it during service. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they do that.
Or they just showed up on a random day.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's what happened.
It's clear that they have the actors for like, you know, one day. And that's
One
why
day,
they all
yeah,
take
usually.
Yes, Paul Sorvino especially.
Oh, man. I mean, my favorite thing could be Paul Sorvino's last scene, but we'll get to that when he's in full comfort mode. But first, we have all of them sitting in a restaurant, and
fake
my
restaurant.
God, so much hair dye. No, I believe it's Frank's restaurant.
Is it the Forget About It Supper Club?
I was going to say
Yes.
it looks like they're pretending it's a restaurant.
It looks like a hall.
It's called Trattoria Toto in the movie. But it's clearly like an event space. It looks like a wedding. Like the tables are huge and they have like fold out chairs and stuff like that.
Well, maybe that's just
honestly,
what his restaurant looks like.
I guess maybe it would have taken place in the Forget About It Supper Club if he had it. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's clearly an event space. This is not a restaurant by any means. It's all carpeted and like it's
there's
very
a
weird
lot
looking.
of food in this movie.
So we get to meet Robert Davi. I guess he's like
It's looking pretty old.
the kingpin.
And this is like 2015,
15?
yeah.
Yeah. And what do we do again? We go around the
Tell
table
jokes.
telling jokes.
Because it was so
Michael
funny the
Pare
first
only
time.
has that one joke. He says it again. I mean, Frank D'Angelo also directed a film called The Joke Thief about stand-up comedians.
I know.
saw
I
the
was
trailer
thinking
for
about that when we were watching it. I was like, was that like he was so inspired by the jokes in this movie, he had to make a whole other movie about it?
Isn't his son in that movie as well?
Oh, I don't know. The joke.
Oh,
Thief?
yes. Playing a young Frank and like
Right.
doing a supposedly very good imitation. I haven't
Yeah.
seen The Joke Thief,
I saw the trailer, right? He looks like him too.
but D'Angelo experts have told me that very good young Frank performance.
Is
that-
that
We
Will
should point out
Sloan?
that this film, I am not at liberty to say the name of the Frank D'Angelo expert.
Will Sloan has a history with Frank D'Angelo, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Well, he does. Let's not speak of that to not anger Frank, which did happen at the time.
I think we mentioned it on the No Deposit podcast episode. But didn't Will have to go to one of his premieres like incognito? Like,
Well, I mean, he thought he had to be incognito. Like, he took his glasses off and, like, kept his head down. Especially, they went to the Forget About It Supper Club afterwards, and Frank was just a table over. It was, like, Franco Nero and, like, a bunch of actors from the film.
no kidding.
Yeah, having a meal.
What? So did Frank like threaten him online or something like that?
Yeah, he's like, this, this idiot Will Sloan thinks he's so funny. Something like that.
That's pretty funny.
So, Frank, if you're listening to this, we're just, we want to be in your good books.
Yeah, we
So-
love you.
We love this movie. Frank.
So there's a plot line where like one of the guys in the mafia, the shorter guy, is secretly working for Paul Sorvino and he wants to get him whacked. So he arranges
You
for
have never
them.
spoken with more enthusiasm describing a plot, April. You like sighed out that like, hey, want to work?
She's fading
Liz.
fast.
So
April, take some cough medicine. It'll perk you up again.
cough medicine.
Too many Cheetos last night.
Oh, I could go for some Cheetos right now.
So yeah, this guy is arranging for Frank D'Angelo to be murdered.
I thought maybe Robert Davi as well. I don't know, but
He is like 2 feet away from them. He slips off to do this on the side, and he's having a very loud phone call.
and he's like, "Yeah, I fucking hate that asshole. I want to get him. He's right there.
He'll be at the jazz club tonight, and they're
Yeah.
all looking at him. They all stop talking and they're staring at him. I'm like, I think they can hear you. And like,
Yeah.
Michael
But
Pare
Frank can definitely hear him with his super vampire hearing.
yeah, can hear a mouse fart.
But before we get there, we need to meet James Caan.
Okay, this is at the 1 hour mark, by the way.
Yeah, and he's top billed.
This movie has not really established that he's a vampire much at this point. Hasn't really factored into the story at
No.
all.
Wait, did we skip the scene where he has a nightmare that he drinks the blood of his wife and daughter?
We
Yes.
did, but yeah, that happens. Very brief.
That happens, as it does in these movies. Yeah, so we are introduced to James Caan.
Who's also looking very old. Everyone looks old in this except Frank.
He's wonderful. He's
Maybe
like-
by design.
Maybe he's de-aged like the Marvel movies or something like that.
He does have a very
Like
smooth
Samuel
face.
Jackson and Captain Marvel?
Yeah, he's got his own like VFX department.
Yeah, that smoothness is de-aging technology.
Or
Nothing
he-
else, nothing chemical.
Or they like re-age like everybody else. They age everybody up.
Yeah.
More
They
wrinkles.
re-age
I want me
everyone else.
to. I gotta look like an angel in comparison to these folks.
Now, James Caan, didn't he do an interview, like, because he passed away recently?
Yes.
Where he's like, listen, these are my alimony films.
Yes.
I own a lot in alimony.
Yeah, I have a. There was an article I think in Vanity Fair about Frank D'Angelo, specifically about this movie, saying like, how does he get all these big stars to be in the movie? Blah blah blah. And there's a quote from from Caan saying that he's professional and he pays you blah 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 in a briefcase full of cash, but Caan himself.
A briefcase full of cash.
Yeah, this is a quote. Caan expressed both embarrassment of the film and worry that his reputation in the industry could suffer after appearing in it, which he claimed was made necessary by his messy and expensive divorce.
But Caan appeared in multiple Frank D'Angelo films, didn't he? More than just one.
Maybe he remarried and got divorced again.
He's like, fast cash. I need some fast cash. I know where to go, Frank.
I feel like everybody in these movies, there's some, they need money, obviously, for some reason, right?
Oh, yeah. The article was called, How Did an Oscar-Nominated Legend End Up in This Painfully Amateurish Horror Film?
And it's not even a horror film, people.
It's barely a movie.
So we go see James Caan, who is a physical doctor, because he takes blood transfusion from Frank, and also an expert in mythology. He's a double threat.
This scene goes on for so long, and you can tell it's just like...
It's so good where he takes some blood from Frank. He's like, gotta take some more. We need 4 vials. And you see every vial get full.
Oh, in real time. Yeah, so, and we have to say, this is at like a university, and they're in the Trafficante wing. This is like Frank D'Angelo's character's name. So
we did not even say Frank D'Angelo's amazing character name. Oh, wait, I had it here
it's like Santo Trafficante.
Santo Trafficante.
Santino. By the way, he's speaking to his dead father on his cell phone for some reason throughout the film.
Oh, yeah, that happens.
And again, as everybody just sort of watches him.
And they're just like, I feel really bad for Frank.
We kept waiting for Robert Loggia to show up. I'm like, is that Loggia? It's like, son.
He does at the end.
I'm speaking from beyond the grave.
But yeah, James Caan is not good in this. But I feel like he was given no direction and he doesn't know what to do.
There's no script.
Doesn't know what to say.
Yeah. And he's like,
so he's just riffing.
What are you a doctor of? And he's like, I got a PhD in mythology.
I like later on, he's like, please, Mr. Trafficante, can you just give me a little nibble? Just nibble me a little bit.
Just give me a bite. Okay, well, let's skip to that. So they're back at the supper club, and James Caan, I know, again, and it's the same scene again, but James Caan shows up, and he's like, I did the research, and some people may call it a vampire. I don't know if you want to necessarily call it that, but, and it just goes on, and Frank's like, really upset, but he doesn't show it. He's just like, so I guess I'm dead.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
He's like, how did you learn this? He's like, I read some of the vampire books.
And he's like, thank you. If you need
James Caan out.
Yeah, and like Frank's like, if you need anything, just ask. And he's like, well, there is one thing. Could you maybe give me a little bite? Because hey, you don't want to live forever. I do. So how about you bite? And he's like, I do what? And he goes, bite
just give me a little nibble.
And he kept going, why would I do that? Like,
it's so awkward.
It goes on, and then they leave, and then he follows him home. And they have the same conversation.
Yeah, he calls him from his cell phone, and he's like, where are you? And he's like,
that?
well, I'm kind of outside your house. He's like, just give me a little
how
bite.
How about you bite me? Again, they have the same conversation again.
But it's like, it's not even like, it's supposed to be a joke, but it's not played as a joke.
Well, I'm not sure.
It doesn't land as a joke. Like, nothing in this movie works at all, except for the mouse part.
And that's a wrap on James Caan.
Farting mouse.
It's like, if you could just leave my paycheck
yeah,
just by the car, that'd be nice.
So then it's the evening finally. I feel like it hasn't been night. All these like harsh daylight scenes in this movie.
Yeah, he's really not bothered by the sun in this movie.
No, that rule doesn't apply to him.
You kind of completely forget he's a vampire until like the end of the movie, and he's like, oh yeah, right.
So we're at some jazz club, which again looks like this big hall.
So the one thing I was really disappointed with, I think this is Frank's club, or his restaurant.
Right.
It's got to be.
It's got a stage. It's got to be.
Kind of looks like
is that when they walked in, I was like, I wish Frank D'Angelo was on stage like Steven Seagal is in the movie Ticker. Where, like, Steven Seagal walks into a club and a bearded Steven Seagal is also on stage playing music.
So he's supposed to be a different character?
Yeah, you're not supposed to know it's Seagal, but he's
That's
just there.
funny.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, instead
Albert Pune classic Ticker.
100%. This is the exact same location that's supposed to be the restaurant. I think
Looks the same.
Literally, they've just turned the lights down and we're just shooting in the other direction.
So
basically.
they go to the club and it takes a little less time than you'd expect, but the people want it. Frank gets up on stage.
They demand.
What song does he sing, Colin?
Just a gigolo.
Just a gigolo. And Armand
In its
Desante
entirety
and
this
Michael
time.
Pare are also on stage, and they're on the doing the backup singing, and they're loving it. They're having a
blast.
great time.
But I love his fake protests as they're dragging him up to
he's
stage.
like, no, I don't.
You guys, please, no.
It's like Ron Burgundy and Anchorman. He's like pulling out like the flute out of his
Yeah, he's already
Oh,
prepared.
I'm not prepared. I'm just not ready.
Come on, guys. Come on, please.
Aren't you guys tired of hearing my voice on literally every radio you turn on?
Yes. As the crowd is like,
Although the stage is comically small, and there's so many people crammed onto it.
It kind of just
insane.
interrupts this band. I feel
Yeah.
bad for the audience that came to see this jazz band.
Yeah, but they love it.
No, but they love
and then
it.
this mafioso guy goes on stage to sing this.
I ain't got nobody.
And they played the full song.
How would you describe Frank D'Angelo's voice? Kind of like angels tickling your lobes?
He's a crooner. It's funny because his speaking voice and his singing voice do not sound like the same person at all.
No.
Could he maybe be dubbed by someone else pretending to be Frank?
Or maybe it's auto-tune.
Maybe he just dubs himself in the movies. All of his dialogue is some.
It'd be
other
funny
actor.
if his dialogue was dubbed by someone else, but his voice when he sings, that's all him.
That's all Frank. That's all.
So
Frank.
we've barely mentioned
Frank.
Billy Baldwin in this movie.
Daniel
Baldwin.
Well, we've barely mentioned Eric Roberts and Art Hindle as cops sitting in the car
I
watching all this
forgot.
happen.
So they're watching the events of the movie and doing nothing.
They're supposed to be staking out Frank for some reason.
They do not interact with the cast one bit.
Obviously because they were shot separately.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
They just seem to be in the background in a car and scenes staking Frank out.
Yeah,
for
and
some
just
reason.
commenting on what he's doing.
Eric Roberts is like, prostitution, money laundering, that doesn't bother me, but people not paying their taxes, now that I can't stand.
There's also a weird scene where everybody's mistresses show up and they all break up with them.
I think this is this
Wait,
scene.
we go back to the restaurant.
It's the scene,
We're
yeah.
back to the restaurant.
Yeah, this is such a weird scene. So I think it's at the jazz club.
Yeah,
But
I don't know why they
I don't
all
know.
decided to show up at the same time.
Frank all of a sudden becomes this moral person or something.
Which is really funny because he has a mistress himself as well.
yeah, and
Exactly.
so he breaks up with her in this scene. He's like, "We can't do this anymore." Here's
But he's yelling at, is it Armand Desante?
Yeah, it's like
Or
his mistress or
Where he's like, how could you have sex with her? What? You have a wife. You love your wife. Get
Yeah.
out of here. Also, my mistress, I'm breaking up with you too.
yeah, I don't know.
and he hands her a pile of cash. He's like, "There's 5 G's."
Yeah, we get the sense that he's like, this is gonna be my last night. Because he's a vampire and maybe he's gonna kill himself. We don't really know.
I don't know. Who
But so Daniel Baldwin shows up, right? Or does he send guys? I think he shows up, right?
yes.
Yeah. Well, someone shoots Frank in the back of the head.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
Daniel
That's all you need
Baldwin.
to know.
Yeah,
who
he
has
gets
been
shot.
seething this entire movie. Every time you see him, he's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill him." He's like Hugh Jackman from Chappie.
Yeah, he's a little pissed off.
Well,
but yeah,
not the quality of performance, but it gets close.
they shoot him and then they leave. But you can't kill Frank. And he sits up and has red eyes, and that's not when he has the teeth, right? Does he have the teeth again?
I don't know if he has the teeth again.
Probably.
Probably. He just
and he opens his mouth and he's like, just a gigolo.
Yeah.
still got
Wouldn't it be funny if Frank's music brought him to life?
Yeah.
It's playing on the soundtrack and he's like, I just can't not sing to this.
I was expecting something else like Queen of the Damned or something. Like he's gonna gain these vampire powers and it's somehow gonna propel his music business or something. Like he's gonna be on stage.
I think that in No Deposit, there's on the soundtrack, Live or Let Die is on it, and it's like Frank doing a cover of it.
Oh God Almighty!
Live or Let Die.
It's just gonna ruin every song. Oh, I'm gonna be hearing.
Make it better. How dare you, Colin?
So Frank, he's got to get revenge on the guys that killed him.
He just kind of casually walks out of the bar.
Yeah, and
Armand Desante.
and Armand Desante and Michael Pare are like, I thought you were dead. because they weren't there, but they somehow knew that there was a hit. Maybe they were in on it. I don't know, but they're so happy he's still alive. And then he has to go to the terrible strip club, right, to get revenge.
He gets revenge on everybody.
He rips Daniel Baldwin's heart out, and he holds it up, and he's like, "Didn't think you had one of these."
Yeah, and it's a comical heart prop, but then he rips somebody's balls off,
testicles off.
Yeah,
it's the traitor in his crew,
and he pulls them up, and like, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at.
They're just like lychee fruit or something,
Yeah.
and he makes the guy eat them.
I wish he ate them.
Yeah.
Himself, like, love it.
And then he rips off Paul Sorvino's arm.
Okay, we got to talk about Paul Sorvino in this scene because he is shirtless, seemingly eating. It looks like a dank basement.
He's never not eating in this movie.
He's got like, he's just like, I'm like, is he naked? Like,
he's in
I
like
think he has a chain on, and that's it.
He's in like a food coma. He's just had like, he's got like sauce around his mouth or something like that.
You know, we all love to just pull our shirts off and dig into a delicious lasagna, right?
Yeah, and you just pass out on the floor of your basement shirtless. Come on.
And then, a vampire comes and attacks you.
He rips his arm off and beats him with it.
I think he says he's going to as well. He's like, I'm going to rip your arm off and beat you with it.
And he does. And is that the end of the movie? Like, does he go home first, or does he just go straight to the cemetery? No, he runs into Eric Roberts and friend, right?
I think
he runs into them after he's leaving, and they're like, "We're not gonna do anything. Okay, bye." And that's it.
He says
they do nothing.
He says you got two choices. You can arrest me, or you can go home and have some cocoa.
And he goes, "I like cocoa," and he leaves. And so it's like, what was the point of them?
I'll take my paycheck, please.
Just to get famous people in the movie, I guess.
Yeah,
that's right.
More actors, yeah.
I mean, the common person, when they see Eric Roberts in a movie, they're like, that's a sign of quality.
Exactly. That's what I think. Have you seen the Stalked by My Doctor movies, by the way? Because they're really funny.
Okay.
They're really good. Small recommendation for those. Much better movies.
The Eric Roberts magnum opus.
Yeah.
Exactly. Definitely that second one, probably. Anyway.
It's like his Taken franchise,
It is. And they keep making them.
Just keeps going and going.
So, yeah, he goes to the cemetery. It's terrible day for night. And he talks to his dead father, and then he shows up as a ghost.
He goes to like the family crypt,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see finally Robert Loggia, who looks like he's dead, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
He's really, really old, but
well, maybe they put him in ghost makeup.
I think that's his actual crypt that they've shot in front of, and then they resurrected him just for this scene.
And thank God, okay, the movie's over, but the credits.
My God.
We were like, I want to see, like, I don't know why we decided to watch the credits. I want to see where it was filmed, first of all.
Are there some bloops at the end?
Yeah.
No.
Like, is that what you're excited about?
We've got, doesn't Just a Gigolo play again over the credits?
Yeah. Probably.
Okay,
people love it.
According to IMDb, Frank D'Angelo's name appears 145 times in this end credit sequence.
Is that on the IMDb trivia?
Yes.
Real Joker
funny.
put that on
And
there.
just keeps going and going. And by the time it gets to like the soundtrack section, I'm pretty sure that it's just listing his albums and every track on the album.
It is. And it go and there's like 10 albums or like 5 albums.
It doesn't seem like it's albums even from this movie.
No,
it's just like
it's not even songs that are in the movie.
Yeah. And like, every single track has like the writing and recording words by Frank D'Angelo.
Music by Frank D'Angelo and blah, blah, blah.
Performed by Frank D'Angelo.
Yeah. Oh, it's something to behold.
It's amazing. I want to buy his albums now.
Well, you could probably get some CDs.
They're probably on iTunes.
Yeah.
I'm going to just start playing them randomly around the house and see what you...
I ain't got nobody.
Talk about a horror experience. And that's the movie. It's not very good, people, but I did have quite a few laughs watching it.
I mean, watch No Deposit instead of this. That one's
I
much
would
better.
say so.
I'm going to say my favorite part. I haven't done that yet.
Sorry.
It has to be the bat scene when he's turned into a vampire.
It's pretty
Oh,
good.
that's so
pretty
funny.
So unexpected, and it's so ridiculous and funny. I love
The bat in the box of bananas.
Oh, the soundtrack. They're all like, what are you doing? Oh, it's a box of bananas. Come on.
So this movie is actually not available to watch legally, unless I guess you buy the Blu-ray from his website.
Which we did. We did not.
Which we did, but if you look for it, it's really easy to find.
It used to be on Tubi, and it's not.
It also
anymore.
used to be on iTunes.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you look, you can find it. It's not hard to find.
But buy it from Frank. Get the soundtrack CD.
Yeah, you should do that.
sign
give
the
this man
soundtrack
more
CD?
money.
Yeah, it'll come signed too. That's what it says on the website.
Really?
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually wouldn't mind watching more Frank movies, just because I like.
He has a lot more.
I know, or at least like scan through them, like because they're funny. But this one did have really, really long stretches that were just exhausting.
Yeah.
But if you like bad movies, I do recommend this because it was funny.
It's kind of baffling.
But it's really long.
But it is an ego project, 100 through and through. Oh my God. It's pretty much just Frank gets to hang out with actors that he likes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And pretend he's like a mafia boss.
Yeah, it's a fantasy.
Yeah, exactly.
And, who can blame him for that?
Well, I'm looking at his Instagram, and he posts a lot of photos of himself in bed.
Yes.
Of his
looking
face.
sad.
And every Instagram
Yeah.
post, the text always has like the link to his website.
Beinfrank.ca.
Beinfrank.ca, frankdangelo.ca.
There's
D'Angelo.
Wait, if you go to beinfrank.ca, it says this site has been suspended.
Uh-oh.
I guess he was too frank.
Anyway, that's it for this movie.
Frank D'Angelo. Canadian legend.
If you want to email the podcast, we're at no such thing as a bad movie at gmail.com, and we're on Twitter at no such thing pod. And consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/no such thing as a bad movie. If you're on the $5 level, you'll get a little bonus episode every 2 weeks. And we just recorded one where we talked about all kinds of movies. We did a little kind of movie, TV show catch up. And that's really great. So you're going to want to hear that. And if you want to find me, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at April at Mansky.
Wait, I have another Frank update, which is one of his albums is called Can You Take Me Seriously? And it looks like one of his pillow photos of him in bed with a pillow.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
sorry, I was going to say, it's like Moturn Media's
it looks exactly like a Moturn Media album.
album covers, pictures of him around his house.
So you can follow me on Letterboxd at Justin Decloux, DECLOUX, the letter J, or at DeclouxJ on Twitter, and every week on the Important Cinema Club podcast.
You can follow me on Twitter, Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA.
And that's it. We did it. We made it through this. I made it through this episode.
We will never record hungover ever again.
Not this hungover.
You cannot make that promise.
No, unfortunately. Fortunately, I can't.
This was like April's pick, too. She's like...
It's my fault.
Yeah, but,
But yeah, I was hoping it would kind of
Listen, guys,
edge us into the spooky season.
You gotta feel bad to feel good.
That's right. I'm April Mansky.
I'm Justin Decloux.
I'm Colin Cunningham.
And there's no such thing as a bad movie.
Just a gigolo everywhere I go.